the working of FTP, that is File Transfer Protocol, and email system. Okay. So the objective of today's session is to make the students to know about the working of File Transfer Protocol and email systems. Okay. The outcome of the session is that the students may be able to understand the working of FTP and the email system. So today we are going to see the File Transfer Protocol, which is a protocol used at the application layer of the TCP/IP model. So these are the outline of today's session. We are going to see the working of FTP and how the FTP works, and we'll be seeing the architecture, that is FTP model and the electronic mail systems. Okay. So what is meant by FTP? So it refers to, or it is abbreviated as File Transfer Protocol. Okay, it is used for exchanging the files between the two systems or computers between the internet. Okay. So with the help of the FTP, you can go for exchanging your messages or data or anything else, files between one computer to another computer. Okay. So File Transfer Protocol is the simplest and more secure way to exchange the files over the internet. So here, with the help of FTP, two processes carried out. So one is uploading, the other one is downloading files. Okay. So what is uploading? That is, you are going to transfer the file from the client computer to the server computer. So from client to server, the data transmission or file transmission is called as uploading, and the transmission of files from server to client is called as downloading. Okay. To access an FTP server, the user may be able to connect via the internet or an intranet. So via the modem or local area network with an FTP client program. So the client system and the server system should be installed with the, for example, if you are having a client system, the FTP client program must be installed. And also at this other end, the FTP server program must be installed at the server machine. Okay. Okay. So here you can have a look over the picture. That is, you're having the client here. Okay. And you're having the server. Okay. So from client, user can access file from the server. That's the process of downloading with the help of this FTP. Okay. And also the user can, that is the sender can send the files to the server. That is the process FTP uploading. That is, with the help of FTP, can also upload some files onto the server. So two processes carried out. One is downloading and the other one is uploading process with the help of the File Transfer Protocol. Okay. So FTP is used for exchanging the files over any network that supports the TCP/IP protocol, and it uses the client and server architecture model. So you'll be having the client and you'll be having the server. So the transmission of files from client to server and server to client. So it follows the client server model. Okay. And FTP also separates the data connections from that of the control connections. Okay. So with the help of FTP, there is going to be having two connections. One is called as control connection. The other one is called as data connection. Okay. So FTP is user-based password authentication access or anonymous user access. So with the help of your FTP, you can have a authenticated access of any files as well as you can also have anonymous access of documents with the help of this FTP. Okay, so both are possible with the FTP protocol. So it's nothing but a standard mechanism which is provided by TCP/IP model for copying a file from one host to another host via the internet, that is FTP. Okay, it is mostly used as a communication protocol for transferring the files over the internet. So what are the problems that faced in using the FTP? There are two problems. That the first one is if two systems are using different file name from either side. Okay, that's the problem. Then second problem is if two systems, they have different ways to transmit or represent the data and the text messages. Okay, so these are the two problems in FTP. Okay, so usually if you are using FTP, it's going to be having two connections. One is control connection, the other one is data connection. Okay, so the control connection is used for sending the commands and responses from client to server. Okay, and data connection is used for transferring the data from either from client to server or from server to client. Okay, so FTP protocol will be using two well-known TCP ports. That is port number 21 is used for control connection and port number 20 is used for the data connection. So two port numbers are used for the connection to be established between the client and the server. Okay. Okay. So here you can see a picturized how the FTP works. So the user is at the host side and they can transfer the file from host machine, that is source to destination, that is remote file system. Okay. Okay, either the client can access the file from the local file system with the help of the FTP, or they can transfer from the source machine to the remote, that is FTP server also. So the transfer of file is possible within the local system as well as from the remote server also. So with the help of the file transfer protocol. Okay. So the client will be initiating the transfer of any files either from client to server. Okay. The server will be the host, remote host. Okay. So here the FTP server uses port number 21. Okay. So here you can see FTP client, how it establishes the connection between client and the server. It uses the port number 21. Via the port number 21, the FTP is accessing or establishing the control connection with that of the server. And the server will be sending the data through the TCP data connection via the port number 20 to the client. So this is what happens with the help of the FTP protocol. So what is meant by control connection and data connection? Already we have seen there are two possible connections are there. One is control connection. So the control connection is nothing but the communication path is established between the user, that is client, and the server for exchanging of commands and replies. Okay. So this connection follows the Telnet protocol, that is terminal network. Okay. And what is meant by data connection? So data connection is nothing but it is a full duplex connection. So what I mean by full duplex? So already we have seen there are three types of transmission modes are possible. One is simple transmission mode. The other one is half duplex. The other one is full duplex. So simple duplex means, simple transmission means, so the transmission is possible in one way. Okay, example, we can have the television communication. Okay, and the half duplex transmission mode means you can the transmission is possible in either direction. either in forward direction or in the backward direction. So only one transmission, one direction is possible at a time. That is half duplex. Example, can see a policeman holding the walkie-talkie. So either a person can speak or either the person can listen. Okay, that's an example for half duplex transmission mode. And the third one is full duplex. That is both the client and the that is source and the destination can transfer any data in either direction. So two directions, the transmission is possible in two directions also. So best example is telephonic conversation. Okay, so here FTP also, so this data connection is using the full duplex connection, over which the data is transferred in a specific mode. Okay, the data transferred may be the part of the file, or it may be a entire file, or it may be number of files can be transferred from server to client or client to server. Okay, okay, so here you can see the how the communication is carried out using the FTP. So at the client side, there are three blocks. One is user interface, the other one is control process, the other one is data transfer process. The same thing. So client and server is connected via the internet. So two connections are possible with the help of the FTP. So one is the control connection, the other one is the data connection. So control connection is nothing but as the client will be establishing a connection to the server. After establishing the connection, the server will be accepts that control connection request, and it will also send data to the client. And after that, it will close the connections. Okay, so this is what the sequence followed. Okay, you can see here FTP client will be sending the, that is client will be establishing the connection over the channel, that is control connection is established via the internet using the FTP protocol, and data connection will be processed by the FTP server. Okay, so what is control connection? The communication path between the user PI. What is meant by PI? That is protocol interpreter. User protocol interpreter, that is client protocol interpreter, and server PI is server side. On the server side, it can have a protocol interpreter. So for the exchange of commands and replies. And data connection is nothing but a full duplex connection established over which the data can be transferred in a specific mode and type. Okay. Okay. So this is what the happens while the control connection is established between the client and the server. Okay, so it's a bidirectional communication, and it will be the control connection will be initiated by the client. Okay, so the whatever the connection established, it will send it as a command. So through the control connection, the client will be sending the command to the server. So the command will be in the form of a ASCII character set. So NVT is network virtual terminal ASCII format. The data will be, command will be in the format of ASCII code. Okay. So this is what happens in control connection. Next comes the data connection. It's a unidirectional mode of transmission, and here can have the client will be, the data connection will be initiated both by the client as well as the server. So what will be the data? It can be any files, or it all will be about data structure, and the transmission mode will be specified. All will be defined by the client. Okay, what is the necessary requirement to be fetched from the server will be represented or specified by the client through the data connection. So after that, the server will be processing. It will send the corresponding data to the client. Okay. So communication over control connection, it uses 7-bit ASCII character set. The command will be of 7-bit ASCII character set. And this is the transmission will be like passing the commands and the responses from client to server. Okay, you can send only one command or one response at a time. So each command is it's like a short line. So the line will be terminated with the 2-character end of line token. Okay, and what about communication over data connection is that the file transfer occurs over the data connection under the control of the command sent over the control connection. So for example, if you're going to copy a file from server to client, so this is called retrieving a file. So this will be done using the command called RETR. That is, you're going to retrieve some file from the server. Okay. Next thing, the file is to be copied from client to server. So this is called, you're going to share some file from client to server. That is, you're going to store some file on the server. So this will be called as storing a file. So this will be done under the supervision of STOR command, that is store command. Okay. So there will be a list of directory or file names to be sent from server to client. So this will be done under the supervision of list command, LIST command. Okay. So note that FTP treats the list of commands or of file names as a file. It will be sent over the data connection. Okay. So there are 3 types of transmission modes are possible with the file transfer protocol. The first transmission mode is stream mode. So what do you mean by stream? That is, you might have heard live stream. You can have the live video or anything. So the meeting which we are conducting is also a live one. So we call this as a stream mode. The transmission is, data transmission is stream mode. So stream mode, block mode and compressed mode. So what do you mean by block mode? Whatever the data you're going to send will be divided into some number of blocks. That is block mode. What is meant by compressed mode? So if you're going to upload any data onto the server, so if the size of the file is very large, then you can go by compressing the size. Okay. Okay. For that purpose, you can go on using the run length encoding. There's encoding algorithms you can go for compressing the files. Okay. So stream mode. So from FTP to TCP, it will be acting as a continuous stream of bytes. So there won't be any end of file in stream mode. So end of file in this case is closing the data connection by the sender. Okay, block mode is nothing but dividing the data into number of blocks. So each block will be presided by the 3-byte headers. So the first byte is called as block descriptor, and the next 2 bytes defines the size of the block in bytes. Okay. The compressed mode will be using the run length encoding, and you can have the consecutive appearances of the data unit, which will be replaced by 1 occurrence and the number of repetitions. Okay. Okay. Let's see what are the features of FTP protocol. So the main thing, FTP protocol is used for transferring one file at a time, either in either direction between the client machine and the server machine. That's the main usage of using the FTP protocol. So client machine is nothing but the machine or the user who is going to initiate the connection, and server machine means which provides the FTP service. Okay. The FTP protocol can also perform other actions. So what are the other features provided by the FTP? Or it can go for creating the directories, and it can go used for deleting directories, listing files, deleting the files, and renaming the files. So these are some of the actions that can be performed with the help of the file transfer protocol. And the other features are the FTP allows files to have the ownership of the files, and it can also provide some restrictions. So with the help of FTP protocol, you can also restrict some files to be to the users. That is, some files may be blocked or some files may be restricted with the help of this FTP protocol. And it also hides the details of the individual computer system also. Okay, so the real-time example we can see is downloading MP3 files. Okay, online games rely heavily on file transfer protocol. The other events like auctions and online trading will be using the FTP protocol to transact the businesses. So mainly FTP is used to transfer the web page files from the creator to the computer that acts as a server for everyone on the internet. So these are some of the examples of where we can apply, or where it is where FTP is really applied. Okay, so shall we see the differences between FTP and HTTP? So in the previous class we have seen HTTP, that is hypertext transfer protocol. We can compare these two types of protocol. So FTP is a two-way system. So two-way system in the sense you can transfer the data from client to server as well as from server to client. That is, with the help of FTP, you can go for uploading the data onto the server and also download the data from the server. Okay, it's a two-way system. So FTP can also be used to copy any file or move files from the server to the client computer, as well as upload or transfer files from the client to the server. That's the main purpose of FTP. So coming on to the HTTP, on the other hand, it's a strictly one-way communication. The thing is that either you can go for transferring any files, data files, whether it can be a text message or pictures or images or other data like multimedia files, audio, video, etc. Transfer from client to server, okay, which uses the web browser to view the data. So FTP is a two-way system, and with the HTTP you can go for, it's a one-way communication system. Just HTTP is used for acquiring or any data from the server. Okay, any data from the server. Okay, let's see what are the steps required in file transfer protocol. So there are 4 steps are required. The first step is FTP request command. The second thing is response command, and third thing, the data transfer will be carried out and termination of the connection. Okay, so this request, FTP request, is initiated by the client. So the thing is that it will allow the file transfer protocol to come into picture. Okay, so FTP response command is used by the server. That is, the server will be informing the client that is, it is ready to receive any file from the client or can send any file to this client. Okay, so FTP's transfer is mainly used for the actual transmission will occur in the transfer step. Data transmission will occur. And FTP terminate command is used. There are 2 types of terminate transactions will be carried out. One is the successful termination of the connection. The other one is the unsuccessful termination of the connection. Okay, so you can have a look over it. The client is connected with the server. Sorry. Okay, client connected with the server via the internet, and you can use the FTP protocol to have a file transmission between client and server. Here you can see a firewall. So what is meant by firewall? So firewall is nothing but it monitors the traffic that occurs between the client and the server. So traffic in the sense it is used to capture and monitor the network traffic. So it can also block some files from the client to reach onto the server also, or some files may be it allows permission, or it gives permission to reach the client. So it is acting as a protecting layer. It provides some security of the data. Okay. So this is what we have seen already. So two transmission channels will be there. One is the control channel. In that control channel, the connection establishment will be carried out with the help of this control channel. The next thing is the channel is data channel. It's purely meant for transferring the data from client to server. Okay. So here you can see file system on the server and file system on the client. Okay. Here you can see some blocks at the client side as well as the on the server side. So PI is representing protocol interpreter, and DTP means data transfer process. Okay. So data transfer process means it establishes the connection and manages the data channel between client and the server. So it will be DTP will be mainly responsible for establishing the connection between the client and the server. Okay. And what is meant by PI? So PI is the protocol interpreter, which is used to control the DTP. Okay. So PI will have the control over the DTP with the help of the commands and the responses received over the control channel. Okay, so this was the functionality of DTP at the client and at the server side, and PA at the client and the server side. Okay. So DTP means so both the client and the server has two processes. One is data transfer process, and the other one is protocol interpreter. Okay. So data transfer process means it establishes the connection and manages the data channel. The server side DTP is called as server DTP, and the client side DTP is called as user DTP. Okay, protocol interpreter means it have the control over the DTP using the commands received over the control channel. Okay, this is different on the client as and the server. Okay, so what is server PI? So server PI is server protocol interpreter. It is responsible for listening some commands coming from the user PI. So user PI is nothing but this client PI over the control, and it establishes the connection for the control channel and also receives some FTP commands from the user PI and respond to them, and it runs the server DTP. This is what the function of server PI, that is server protocol interpreter. User PI is responsible for establishing the connection with the FTP server, and it will be sending the FTP commands, and it also receives the response from the server and controlling the, and it also controls the user DTP, that is data transfer process if needed. Okay, so when an FTP client is connected with the FTP server, the user PI, that is user protocol interpreter, initiates the connection to the server according to the Telnet protocol. So Telnet protocol is nothing but the remote. It's a protocol used for the remote login. Okay, the client sends the FTP commands to the server, and the server interprets them and runs the command in the data transfer process. Then it sends the corresponding response to the server. Okay, once the connection is established, the server PI will gives the port on which the data will be sent on to the client DTP, and the client DTP then listens on the specified port for data coming from the server. So this is what the works goes on with the FTP model. Okay, so it is very important to know that there are two ports. One is the control. Since the control and data ports are separate channels, it is possible to send the command from one machine and receive the data on the another machine. For example, it is possible to transfer the data between FTP servers by passing through the client. That is, you can see this picture. So you can use the FTP for the transmission of data from client machine to server machine. Also, it is also possible you can use the FTP for transferring the files from between the two servers. Okay, so that's also possible with the help of the FTP protocol. Okay. So this is all about one server, and this is a file system carried out at the other server, and these two servers are connected with the client. So there will be a two control channel established, that is client and server will be establishing the control channel, and here also you can see the client between the client and the server, the control channel is established, and data channel will be between the two servers. Okay. Okay. So we'll be seeing two types of connections is possible while using the FTP protocol. Okay. So what are the two types of connections? There is one is active connection, the other one is passive connection. Okay. So when an FTP client connects to an FTP server, it opens the connection to the FTP control port, that is port number 21. Client is going to have a connection with the server, it opens the FTP control port 21. Then the client tells the FTP server whether to establish an active connection or passive connection. Okay. So first connection establishment will be initiated by the client to the server. Then the server will be, the client tells the FTP server whether to establish any two types, either an active connection or passive connection. So this type of connection will be chosen by the client, which determines how the server responds and on what port the transaction is going to happen. Okay. There's passive connection, there's active connection. So active connection or active mode, the thing is that the client will be sending some data to the server. So what is going to be transferred? That is with the data along with the IP address and the port number will be sent to the server. Okay. Passive mode means the server is going to send the data to the client. That is passive mode. Okay. Here in this case, the client will be behind the firewall. Okay. You can see these two types of connections, how the active FTP is carried out and how the passive FTP is carried out. So in this picture, you can clearly see in the active FTP, the client computer will be establishing the control connection via the port number 21 from the high port to the server. Okay. So connection is established between the client and the server via the control connection channel, via the port number from the port 21. Okay. And from the server, it will be initiated, the data connection will be initiated from the port number 20 on to the client. Okay. So this is what happens in active FTP. So active FTP means the transmission is from client to server. Okay. And passive FTP means the server is going to transfer the data from server to client. Okay. So active mode. Here you can see clearly how the connection is established. Then after that you can go with the transmission of data. So in the first step, so at the server side you can see port number 20 and the command 21, and at the client side you can see command 1026 and data 1027. Okay. So what happens in the first step? The client's command port contacts with the server command port and sends its data port number 1027 to the server. And in the second, the server will be sending acknowledgement back to the client's command port. So after establishing the connection, the server initiates the connection on its local data port to the data port on the client. Okay. So at last, the client will be sending acknowledgement back to the server. Okay. And what about passive mode? In the passive mode, first the client contacts with the server on the command port and it uses the passive command. Okay, it uses the passive command. Next, at the second step, the server then replies with the port 2020. Okay, telling the client which port is listening to for the data connection, which port is available, for the data connection. The server will be responding to the client. Okay, and then the client initiates the data connection from its data port to the client is sending data to the server. So then the server sends back acknowledgement to the client's data port. This is what happens in passive mode. Okay, so in the passive mode, the client will be initiating the data connection from client to server. Active mode, the server will be initiating the data transmission from server to client. Okay. So in this slide, you will be seeing what is the type of file structure does the FTP has. Okay. The operating system stores the files in different structures. The FTP defines some file structures for different files. So it will be using F representing the file of nature unstructured file, sequence of bytes, and R representing the record, that is series of records will be there, and P representing the series of data blocks. We call that as the pages. Okay, so among these three file structures, the default structure is F. So F is the default, which is of unstructured files. Okay, and all these structures will be specified using the command stru command. Okay, so these are some of the FTP commands and responses are displayed here. The sample commands, the commands will be sent as ASCII text over the control channel. So here user represents the username. Here all the red representing the commands, FTP commands. So user is representing username and pass is representing password and list representing the list of files in the current directory, and RETR file name, it retrieves the file or it gets the file from the server. So this command is used to access or get or retrieve some files from the server. And STOR file followed by that the keyword file name, which represents storing the file onto the remote server. So this file is command is mainly used for storing the files onto the remote host or remote server. Okay. So here in this you can see some more numbers over there, which is representing the status code. As we have seen in HTTP protocol, so 331 status code username okay, it is representing the password is required, and 125 data connection 125 is representing the data connection is already open. It is specifying the data connection is already open. 425 it is representing can't open the data connection, and 452 representing the error while writing the files. So these are some of the status codes used in the FTP commands. Okay, so next thing we'll be seeing what are the benefits or what are the services which is provided by the file transfer protocol. So mainly FTP provides the interactive accessing of files or any documents or messages, or the data may be in any format. Okay, so interactive access means most implementation provide an interface that allows the human to easily interact with the remote service. Okay, remote in the sense the server which is placed at the far distance. Okay, the server which is placed as the long distance, that is we call that as a remote server. Okay, format specification. Format in the sense how we are going to represent the file structures. Okay, so FTP also allows the client to specify what is the data type stored and what is the format of the data type, how you can represent the data. So already we have seen file structures. Three types of file structures are possible with the FTP. One is F, that is file, and P, that is representing the pages, that is data blocks. Okay, R representing the series of records. So in that, the default file structure is F. Okay. So next, it provides the authentication control. So what is going to be authentication? So FTP requires the client to authorize some person by sending a login name and password to the server. So before requesting the file transfer, that is the thing is that FTP, if you are going to access some file, suppose the client is going to access some file from the server, it provides some authentication. So authentication is with the help of the some username and password. There is some restriction to access the server. Okay. So what is meant by anonymous FTP? So anonymous means to use FTP, the user needs any account. So account in the sense you will be providing username and password on the remote server. If you want to access any server, then you need to go with the some authenticated way. So authenticated means you have to log into the machine by using username and password. So that was the real thing goes on with the FTP. What is anonymous means there won't be any authenticated access. So that is, if you want to access the server, you can go with the anonymous. You can use anonymous as the username and guest is the password. Okay. Okay. The user access to the system is very limited. Some sites will allow the anonymous users also with the help of some set of commands. For example, most sites allow the user to copy some files, but they don't have the navigation facilities through the directories. Okay, so FTP means you'll be having some authentication control with the anonymous FTP. There won't be any restriction to access the server for accessing for the transmission of the files. Okay, that is anonymous FTP. Okay, so up to that we have seen what are the things in FTP. We have seen the features provided by FTP and the services provided by FTP, and there are two connections. One is data connection and control connection, and we have seen how the FTP model works, and also we have seen the passive mode, how the FTP acts in active mode and in passive mode also. So this is what about the file transfer protocol. Then we move on to the electronic mail, that is email. So you all will be aware of all this email concept. So I quickly move on. Okay, electronic mail is abbreviated as email. It's a method of exchanging some digital messages designed for mainly for the human users. Okay, so email systems are based on the store and forward model, in which email server system accepts the messages, forwards the messages, deliver and store the messages on behalf of the users who only need to connect to the email infrastructure. Okay, so where comes, so how the history of email comes into picture. That is the foundation for today's global internet. The email service was created in the early ARPANET. Okay, ARPANET, and the standards for encoding of messages were proposed as early in 1973 by RFC 561. So RFC means request for commands, that is 561, and an email sent in the early 1970 look very similar to that of the email that is happening. We are using the internet today. Okay, network based email was initially exchanged on the ARPANET in extension to the file system, FTP, but is today carried by with the help of the SMTP. So email is transferred between one person, that is between two persons, from one location to another location with the help of the SMTP, that is simple mail transfer protocol. Okay, so earlier they have exchanged the mail with the help of the FTP, but today in today's scenario we are using SMTP protocol. Okay. Okay, so we can compare the electronic mail, that is email, with that of the postal mail. Okay, coming on to the email, you'll be having a to address, you'll be having the from address and subject and body of the message will be there in your postal message. Coming on to the email system, you can have the mail, from which mail you are getting the content, and to mail, to address and from address, that will be going to be called as the envelope of the any mail system, and they will be having from and to, date, subject, all will be mentioned in the header part of the email. Then the message comprises two parts. One is the header part and the other one is the body part. Okay, so why we are going for using the email? So you can send the message anytime, anywhere you can send it. So we can send the same message to several people at the same time. We can also forward the information to the co-workers without retyping. So retyping work is reduced with the help of the email. And we can also send the message around the world as in a friendly manner we can send it. Okay. So we can also save the time with the help of this email. And email is a very fast transmission of messages. Usually taking no more time than a few minutes to be received at the other end. Okay, we can mail electronic documents, and the recipient can also edit some documents and return. They can also return the revised version to the users. Okay, it is a very fast compared to that of the postal mail. Okay, so the structure of the email will be having two components. One is the message header and the other one is the message body. So the last previous slide we have seen, the header will be containing control information, including the email address. Okay, email address and one or more recipient address also. Usually additional information will be added onto it. And message body is nothing but the content which is going to be transferred. Then the next thing, in the header field, the following fields will be there. One is from, to, BCC and CC. So from email address will be mentioned that and optionally the name of the author or the sender. To email address, that is recipient email address will be there. And it may be having a primary recipient, that is, and multiple allowed for secondary recipients. That is, you can see for the secondary you can have CC and BCC. So BCC means blind carbon copy. That is nothing but the addresses added to the SMTP delivery list, but not usually listed in the message data. Okay, so the remaining will be invisible to the other recipients. That's what the functionality of BCC. And carbon copy means you can go for mailing some multiple number of copies to more peoples. So many email clients will mark email in your inbox differently depending upon whether you are in the two. Okay, the header field will be containing date field, subject field, message ID, and attachment. In the attachment, you can go on attach some files that you want to send. For example, a Word document, anything else. Okay. So email address consists of two parts. One is the local part, the other one is the domain part. So these two parts will be separated by a symbol, that is at symbol. Okay. Okay. So email address, it is similar to the postal address. An email address specifies the destination of the message, electronic message. So an internet email address looks like this format, that is username at followed by the domain name. So username will be representing the unique name that identifies the recipient, and domain name represents the address. Many people can share the same domain. Okay. So for example, the mail can be like Rani at gmail.com. So Ronnie is the username, and domain name the Gmail account, that is the domain. So many people can go for sharing the domain name. Either it can be the domain may be a Gmail account or a Yahoo account, etc. Okay. So there are three main components in email. So one is user agent and mail service. The other one is the protocol, SMTP, that is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So these are the three main things which is comprising the electronic mail. What is meant by user agent? So in this picture, you can clearly see user agent. Okay. So all the mail servers are connected via the SMTP protocol, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So each and every mail server, there will be a user agent. Okay. So user agent will be doing the actions, or it will be doing the operations like composing a mail. It is like a mail reader, that is composing or editing messages, reading the mail messages. All these operations will be done by the user agent. Okay. Next comes the mail servers. So mail servers are nothing but the mailbox. So in which so many messages will put on the mailbox. So incoming messages for the users, that is your mailbox. So mail servers will be containing mailbox, message queue. So message queue in the sense so many number of messages will be allowed to, or it is ready for sending to the outgoing. Okay, outgoing messages. SMTP protocol is acting between the servers, between the mail servers to send the email messages. Okay, so client will be sending the mail and server will be receiving the mail. Okay. So email uses the TCP protocol to reliably transfer the email message from client to the server. So with the help of the port number 25. Okay. So direct transfer, that is sending the server to the receiving server. Three phases of transfer occurs. One is handshaking. Handshaking is nothing but greeting for the conversation to be held. Okay. So connection establishment is handshaking. Then transfer of messages will happen. Then after closure of the connection. So then you have to there will be interaction of command and response. So command is in the form of ASCII text, and response will be in the form of a text status code. So we have seen in the previous slide that is some numbers. So each codes representing some actions. So that is your response, that is a status code and phrase. So the message will be in the 7-bit ASCII code. Okay. So here you can see how the person sends message to the another person. Okay, Bob and Alice is going to transfer the message. So in between you are having user agent, mail server. Then so this is two servers are connected in between. This is your client mission, and this is the other user. Okay. So So first step, the Alice uses the user agent to compose the message, and to the bob at someschool.edu. The Alice user agent sends the message to her mail server, and the message is placed in the message queue, which is inside the mail server. Okay, the client side of SMTP opens the TCP connection with the Bob's mail server. Okay, so what happens here? The SMTP at the mail server will be establishing the connection, which is at the mail server at the Bob's mail server. Okay, and SMTP client sends the Alice message over the TCP connection, and Bob's mail server places the message in the Bob's mailbox, and Bob's invokes his user agent to read the message. So what's the communication between the Alice and the Bob? Okay. Here is you can notice some of the sample SMTP interaction specified here. Here you can see the status code which I have seen 220, 250, okay, and 354. So each status code is representing some message. Okay, and here you can have a mail from at what is the source mail address you can see, and what is the destination mail address you can see here, and the data to be transferred you can see here. Okay. Telnet server name, that is 25. You can see 220 reply from server. Enter hello commands, or you can enter the mail from recipient to data which. So these are some of the commands used for the SMTP interaction between the server or client and the two servers, or client and the servers. Okay. So now we can the SMTP uses persistent connections between the client and the server, or between the two servers. Okay, the SMTP server uses CRLF.CRLF, which is used to determine the end of the message. Okay. So on comparing SMTP with HTTP, HTTP will be using the pull, and SMTP will be using the push message. Okay. So both will be having the ASCII format of command and response interaction and status codes. So with the HTTP protocol, only each object will be encapsulated or tied up with its own response message. Whereas if you are moving with the SMTP, multiple objects, multiple messages can be sent to different locations. That's the main use of simple mail transfer protocol. Okay. So only one transmission is possible with the help of the HTTP, and many objects can be transferred with the help of the SMTP. So the SMTP protocol is used for exchanging the email messages. So here you'll be having the header part, and here you are having the body part. Okay. And this is the message format of for the multimedia extension. So you might have heard this MIME, that is multiport internet, multi-purpose internet, mail extension. Okay, that is multimedia mail extension is a MIME. Okay, so for that you can use the command RFC 2045 and 2056. These are the additional lines in the message header which declares the MIME content type. Okay, so here in this you can see there is a from address and there is a to address and subject of the message, and you can see MIME version 1.0. Okay. And content transfer encoding used is base 64, which is representing the method used to encode the data. So encryption used here is base 64, and the content type used is image or the JPEG. the type of the data that is transferred is image or JPEG. Okay, content type will be specifying the multimedia data type, subtype, parameter declaration, all will be mentioned in content type. Okay, and base 64 encoded data. So this is your encrypted data. Okay, and this. So how the mail access protocol. So with the help of the SMTP, you can go for transferring the email messages from one person to another person. In between, user agent will be there, and will be having a mail server. At the server, the mail server is mainly for having the mail boxes, mail incoming mailbox. Some mails will be stored in that. Okay. So SMTP is used for delivering and storage to the receiver's server mail. Okay, and that which is access protocol, you can also retrieve from server also. So a protocol called POP, there is Post Office Protocol RFC 1939. So which is used as a protocol for authorized person can use this protocol for authorization from user agent to server. You can go for maintaining the authorized transmission. Okay, and this protocol IMAP, that is Internet Mail Access Protocol, RFC 1730. This is having some more features than the POP protocol. It is also very complex transmission is carried out with this, and you can go for manipulating some of the stored messages on the server. So messages will be stored on the server. You can go with some calculations or manipulations can be done on that stored messages. For that purpose, you can use the IMAP protocol, that is Internet Mail Access Protocol. Okay, so with the help of the HTTP, you can go on accessing the Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo Mail, etc. Okay. So this was the authorization phase. There are two phases in is going with the POP. There is Post Office Protocol. One is authorization phase. The other one is transaction phase. Okay. So in the authorization, the client will be sending some commands. User command, that is for declaring the username. Pass command for declaring the password. And server responses will be like plus OK or minus. There is error like this. All these will be commands will be sent at the client, and also at the server response will be like this. And at the transaction phase, the client will be using the list command for having the list of messages, and RETR is nothing but retrieving the message by the number, and DLEE, that is deleting some message, and quit message. So all these are used at the transaction phase. The client will be using all these commands at the transaction phase. Okay. Okay, already we have seen Post Office protocol and IMAP protocol. Okay, these are some of the references used for preparing the slides. Thank you. So we have come to the